Your dog comes from a lineage that was bred hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, for a purpose, for a job. But our dogs have also been loving, devoted members of our families. Our best friends. Training, it builds trust.
Beautiful, nice, good boy.
And it deepens your relationship with your dog.
That's a sit. Perfect. Good, that's a down.
I've made it my life's mission to save dogs with my training system.
Please welcome Brandon McMillan.
So Brandon, and if you watch the show Lucky Dog, you hear him, the way he rewards the dogs is like, good, good, good.
There you go, good, good, good. There you go, good.
Here with some Canine Cures is the Emmy-winning host and trainer from the CBS series Lucky Dog, Brandon McMillan. Brandon, great to see you, brother.
You too. Yes.
Off. When you learn these things, you'll not only have a well-trained dog, but you'll have a best friend who trusts and loves you and will be there for you through thick and thin for the rest of their life. I come from a family of animal trainers. My father, my uncle, my stepmother, my mother, they were all wild animal trainers in the circus. That was my heritage. That was my lineage. I grew up around all kinds of animals. By the time I was 4 years old, I was starting to raise tigers for my father's act. By the time I was 19, I started working for my uncle here in Los Angeles. We trained everything: tigers, bears, elephants, wolves, reptiles, primates, you name it. We specialized in commercials and music videos. And the movie we did that everyone knows and always loves is The Hangover. That was our tiger, Katie. I not only raised Katie from the time she was 6 months old, but I also trained her. She was one of the greatest cats we ever had. Over the years, I slowly but surely was starting to get away from training wild animals and training more dogs, specifically shelter dogs. I started reading the statistics on how many dogs were euthanized because they couldn't find homes. At the time, the number was around 2 million dogs a year. Even though that number has been cut in half now, that's still an epidemic no matter which way you look at it. That really set me off on a new path, a new journey in life. It took years to really go for it full time and execute it. But once you start reading statistics and facts, it changes your perception on things. There was one moment that I had the life epiphany that changed everything. I was called by a buddy of mine, and he was an Army veteran. He told me that a good friend of his was just hit by an IED in Afghanistan. It took off both of his legs. The reality was he was relearning to walk again on prosthetics. So I asked my friend, I said, "Why are you calling me?" He says, "Do you know how to train service dogs?" And I told him, technically, I do, but I never have trained one. I was training dogs in movies and commercials to do things that you would train a service dog to do. Suddenly, I'm being asked to train a dog to potentially save someone's life. That was out of my element completely. I always had the power of the set. I could say cut. If things weren't working out, it was really no skin off my back because we could just always try it again tomorrow, or we might be able to get a different dog to do it. I got a Doberman Pinscher who was about a year old at the time. I talked to this veteran extensively over months and months. So once I talked to him enough and saw footage of him moving and where he struggled, I knew exactly what to do. So I spent the better part of a year training this Doberman to do basic things like pull a wheelchair, retrieve items around the house, whether it was a bottle of water, his keys, sunglasses, cell phone, his hat. And one of the most important things I trained the dog to do was One of the things he struggled with the most, this veteran, every time he wanted to walk up and down something simple as a step or a curb, he would barely be able to do it. The world is full of steps. The world is full of curbs, and he would need help from somebody getting up and down these steps. So I taught the dog what's known as a brace command. And once you said the word brace, the dog was trained to stiffen his entire body up. And now the dog acts as a cane while the veteran gets up and down steps and curbs safely. The veteran was still living at Walter Reed Medical Center because this is where he was getting his rehab, his treatment, and all his surgeries. The moment that changed everything for me, it was a look on his face when he met this dog for the first time. This guy lost everything. He lost his legs. He lost best friends. He even lost a girlfriend when he came back. She left him. He knew this dog was here to stay. Once I knew they were good, and I knew this dog was going to take care of him, I had to say my goodbyes. So I flew back to California, and I quit the animal training industry for movies that day. And that's when I dedicated everything to training dogs to change people's lives. When I quit training animals for film and television, I put it in fifth gear, and I was doing nothing but taking dogs out of the shelters and turning them into service dogs and therapy dogs and ESAs. I mean, I had this new just breath of fresh air in life, just this new uplifting spirit about me. Suddenly, I got a call from a production company saying, "We heard about what you're doing. We love the concept. Can we come watch you work?" I said, "Sure, come on down." So they watched me work for a couple weeks. They watched me pull dogs from shelters. They watched me assess the dogs, evaluate what they know, what they don't know. And they watched the whole process of how I find a family. And the final piece of the puzzle is the union, homing that dog with the family. And once they saw that, that was it. It was a done deal. They said, "This is it. This is going to be the hit show." And a short time later, Lucky Dog was born. One of the most common things I hear people say to me is, "My dog is untrainable." And I say back to them that there are no untrainable dogs, just untrained humans. Through this class, you're going to learn the basic fundamentals on how to solve those issues, how to work with your dog, how to train your untrainable dog. People always ask me why I don't teach tricks. I actually love teaching tricks. I made a whole career of teaching tricks. But when it comes to practical training, I teach the things that people need the most. Whenever you have a puppy, the last thing you want to teach that dog is a trick. You want to teach them obedience first. You want to teach them manners. You want to teach them house training. You want to teach them all the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of life. I truly believe that my training system is the most simplified form of training out there. It's not how much you teach, it's what you teach. There's not one thing I want you to take away from this class. There's several things, and that's understanding the variables of what makes your specific dog's personality unique and different from every other dog out there. Control, how important it is, and it's the cornerstone of all training. Without control, we cannot train. Technique and conditioning, and how important they are to each other. A dog with proper technique is trained. A dog with proper technique and conditioning is well trained. And most importantly, I want you to understand how important trust is between you and your dog. That bond, that relationship. It's just like with humans. The more trust you have between each other, the more you'll learn off each other. I'm Brandon McMillan, and this is my masterclass. Why, thank you. Throughout this class, there are some key words that I want you to truly understand. Keyword number 1, variables. And in those variables, there are 4 key elements that make your dog have a different personality than any other dog in the world. And those 4 elements are breed, age, history, and imprinted DNA. Now I'm going to go through those one at a time. And worldwide, there are hundreds of breeds. And these breeds are broken down into 7 groups. And the groups of dogs are typically broken down into the job it was bred for at the time. And most, and I mean most, 99.9% of these jobs are now obsolete for these dogs. Technology has now taken over. So for example, the working dogs were bred exclusively for work. Best example I can give you of the working dogs is the Husky. Huskies were bred to pull a sled. This is why they have so much energy. The herding dogs were bred specifically to herd. To date, there's no technology that can herd a flock of sheep as well as an actual herding dog. The hound group was bred solely for their sense of smell. Hounds have a better sense of smell than any other group of dog. And this is why hunters traditionally have been using them for hundreds of years. A hound can pick up a scent in the woods miles away. And this is why in this day and age, hounds are still used by police to find a missing person in the woods. The sporting group, one of the more beloved of all the dogs. This includes the golden retrievers, the Labradors. These dogs were bred to assist the hunter as the hunter goes out in the woods and shoots the waterfowl. Well, the bird could land hundreds of yards away, and the dog, the golden retriever, runs out in the woods, finds it, and retrieves the duck back to the hunter. The non-sporting group is kind of a catch-all category that they do lots of jobs, but they don't necessarily fit into the other breeds like terriers or working dogs. And these dogs include the poodle, the chow chow, the Dalmatian. For example, the Schipperke was bred to be a boat dog to kill vermin on the boat, but the Schipperke is not a terrier. And the modern-day bulldog is not the original bulldog. The original bulldog was bred to fight bulls. Modern-day bulldog is just bred for companionship. Okay, there's no way that thing could ever fight a bull. And then we have the toy group. The toy group are typically very small. Your Maltese, your Pekingese, your Chihuahuas. And they, like the non-sporting group, also have lots of jobs. Some of them were bred to be lap dogs, others were bred to hunt vermin. The terrier was bred to kill rats hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Well, nowadays, we have exterminators. We retired the terrier's job. So as a pet, yeah, the terrier is a great pet, but don't be surprised if one day you're walking down the street and you see a squirrel and you lose control of your dog. That's just prey drive kicking in. That is hundreds of years of breeding perfection at the end of your leash. Years ago, I had a Jack Russell Terrier. I knew not to take him to a park with hundreds and hundreds of squirrels because I would lose control of him very quickly. So my decisions with that Jack Russell were very important. In other words, if your dog has a heavy prey drive, it is literally impossible to stop prey drive. So we have to manage these things. All these groups and the jobs they were bred to do means they all had different personality traits, which also means that your dog, whether it's a purebred or a complete mutt, has some of these personality traits, if not lots of their personality traits. Dogs go through 4 stages of life: puppyhood, adolescent, adulthood, and the senior years. And you're going to notice that every one of those stages, the dog's personality changes substantially. A puppy is always much different than an adolescent or a teenager, if I had to humanize it for you. If you notice, a teenager is much different than a 4-year-old child. Suddenly, the teenager goes through puberty. And as we all know, when you go through puberty, a lot starts changing with your hormones. Well, the same is true with dogs. And then, from the adolescent period, goes to adulthood. The dog once again changes in adulthood. They're much different from the puppy time into the adulthood. Puppies are wild, they're crazy, they're curious about everything. But the adult dog is much more calm, they're experienced. They know things now because they have life experience. They've seen things 100 times, and now they're much more stable personality. And then you get to the senior years. The senior years are where the dog gets much calmer and sometimes more grouchy. So every one of these stages in life means the dog's personality will change just a little bit. History is very important to understand, especially if you have a shelter dog. Typically, when we get a dog from a breeder, we know the history because we got the dog at 8 weeks old. There's not much history before 8 weeks old. A dog from a shelter, however, has a history that you mostly know nothing about, especially if the dog is about 4 or 5, 6 years old. Now the dog has a long history. That dog lived half a life before it met you, because you have to remember, dogs live on average from 10 years to maybe 14, 15 years. So a 5-year-old dog is equivalent to somebody who's middle-aged. That's equivalent to meeting somebody in their 40s or 50s and you don't know their history in life. They went through a full half a life before they met you. The same is true with dogs. A dog's history can alter their personality substantially. So it's very important to understand that your dog's personality could be affected by the history it had before you met him. And then we get to the final one, which is imprinted DNA. This is the personality that the dog was born with. Imprinted DNA cannot be changed. It is fundamental to the dog's genetics. Some dogs are born outgoing, some dogs are born shy. Some dogs are born very high energy, some dogs are born low energy. And believe it or not, some dogs can even be born aggressive. You just don't see it until they hit the adolescent to adult years. And this right here is where we come to the classic nature versus nurture debate. A lot of people out there think a dog is always a blank slate when it's born, and everything that it knows and learns, you taught it. And any personality traits it has later in life, it learned from you. This could not be further from the truth. Easiest example I can give you are herding dogs. Herding dogs are not taught to herd. You can take a dog that has never seen a flock of sheep in its life and suddenly put it in front of that flock, and what does it do? It naturally herds. The dog was not taught to do that. That is imprinted DNA. My whole point of telling you all this is not all things are trainable. What we can't train, we manage. We manage it by making decisions of what we know about your dog and what we know about the environment we're about to take them to. Trust is one of the most important things to begin with when training a dog. Just like humans, dogs are not going to learn efficiently from someone they don't trust. And trust is actually surprisingly easy to build. There's not much to it. You just have to be authentic. Let's just call dogs good poker players. They know your tells. They can tell when you're being authentic, and they can tell when you're completely full of it. This is where trust is so important. Before you decide to train your dog, you have to get that dog to trust you. This makes the training process so much more easy, so much more efficient. And typically the best ways to build trust are also the easiest things to do. Sit there on the couch, watch TV, have your dog right next to you. Just give him treats here and there. Take him for a walk. Play with him. Throw the ball. For a dog to trust you, it's not rocket science. It just takes a little bit of time, and like I said, it takes a lot of authenticity. Trust and bonding fall under the same category. They're the exact same thing. Whenever you get a new dog, you're bonding with them. And when you bond with a dog, the dog is slowly but surely learning how to trust you, especially when it comes to a rescue. You don't know that dog. You have no idea what that dog's been through. That dog doesn't know if you're just like the same person it was living with a few months ago, which could have been an abusive, very neglectful person. But over time, the dog slowly learns that you are not the bad guy. You are to be trusted. And this is where the bonding period solidifies to a point where the dog finally comes up to you and literally tells you without saying a word, I'm ready to be trained. The best story I can give you with trust is my dog Lulu. She's 14 years old now. She's a Chihuahua, and she did not come up to me for nearly 4 years. Every time I got near her, she would run away. Every time I went to pet her, she would shake. Why did she do this? Because she did not trust me. This all comes from her history. I don't know what her history was, but if I had to guess, she was abused. It took me years to earn her trust. I just lost my Jack Russell. He was 14 years old too. I had to put him down. At that time, I had Lulu for about 4 years. Lulu, up until that point, she was very reluctant to come near me. Every once in a while, she would come near me, but she wouldn't spend much time with me. When my Jack Russell died, I came home and I cried. Lulu crawled in my lap. And that was the moment she trusted me. From that moment, Lulu was a lot easier to train. The entire point I'm making here is there's no timeline for trust. Trust could happen overnight, could happen in a week, could happen in 4 years, like it happened with me. Exercise is one of the most important things you should be giving your dog. A lot of people contact me and they say my dog is completely out of control. They say he's been through obedience training, but he won't listen to a word I say. He's running all over the house. He's doing this, that, and the other thing. And so I get over there and I say, let me see what's going on here. I run the dogs through all their obedience commands. The dog is perfect, but the dog is still wild. I say, you don't need a dog trainer. You need a dog walker. When your dog is effectively trained, 90% of their behavior issues come from lack of exercise. I'm going to say that one more time. 90% of a dog's behavior issues come from lack of exercise. I don't care how well your dog is trained. If your dog has an enormous amount of energy and is not allowed to release it, you haven't taken that dog for a walk or a run or taken it on a hike or taken it to a dog park, you now have an out-of-control dog. Dogs were meant to run. They were meant to explode. They come from an animal that runs 20, 30 miles a day. Wolves cover huge stretches of land. This is where your dog's genetics come from. If you don't properly exercise your dog, this is where most of your behavior issues start. Socialization is vital, and it's always recommended from a very young age. When that dog is a puppy, they should be socializing with everyone, every dog, and every environment out there you can possibly find. A dog that's not properly socialized grows up to be a dog that's either scared of other dogs or often aggressive with other dogs. They can also be scared of humans or even aggressive with humans if they weren't properly socialized with them. Same with environments. If you didn't socialize your puppy around loud environments, intersections, lots of people, lots of chaos going on, well, guess what? When that dog's older and you get them around that environment, I guarantee they're going to be scared of it. Now, the question remains, what if you have a rescue dog that you got when it was 3, 4 years old? You had no power in socializing it as a puppy. Although you can't change the past, you can alter the present, effectively changing the future. In other words, you can still socialize your dog when they're older. Yes, it's a little more difficult because the dog is much more set in their ways, but you can definitely make strides. For years, it was very popular to teach that dog training is all about dominance. I hate that word. Dog training is not about dominance. It's about leadership. Dominance makes a dog scared of you. Leadership makes a dog look up to you. Leadership makes a dog want to be like you. Leadership makes a dog eager to learn and want to do it again next time and even better next time. You can get from point A to point B in a much more efficient and much more humane amount of time. The brain works like a sponge. It needs to take things in, absorb slowly, naturally, organically. I like to let it absorb in the dog's mind. Let them take it in, let them understand it. Next day, their mind is nice and refreshed. And one of the most important things here, and this is something I really want you to understand, just like with humans, A good night's sleep is vital to a dog. You make sure that when you're training your dog, you train your dog that is well rested. There's some prep work to be done before we start training obedience. And if done correctly, it's going to pay dividends in the end. First thing I want to point out here is your mental preparation. I look at the overall big picture. I look at the timeline of my training. Here's the start, here's the end. I know there's going to be days where it's going to suck. I'm going to be down here. Other days, I'm up here. Through that timeline, your goal is to do this. It's not going to do this. It's going to do this. It's going to have days where you feel like you fell flat on your face. That's the downslope. The next day, boom, the epiphany happens. They get it. The light bulb goes off. This is very common in dog training. And this right here is one of the main reasons people give up. They had a bad training session and they think it all went out the window. It never goes out the window. The dog is always playing this cat and mouse game with you. It's always this chess match. Just like you who are trying to figure your dog out, your dog is trying to figure you out. Your dog's trying to figure how to get out of this. And your job is to figure out how to beat them at that game. If you give up during this training process, always remember, you'll always have this hanging over your head. You were beaten by an animal that walks on all fours, cannot read, write, or understand detailed logic like you. Now, there's 3 words I want you to say right now, and I want you to understand exactly what they all mean. Control, train, treat. Control. Control is the cornerstone of training. Let me give you an example of how important control is. You have a kindergarten teacher with 20 students in her class. You look inside that classroom and there's no desks, no chairs. What's happening? Those kids are running around like it's a tornado, and most likely the teacher's being carried off in the middle of it. The teacher has no control of her students because there's nothing there to help her control them. It's amazing what happens when you put a desk and some chairs there. Naturally, the students understand this is where I sit and the desk is where I do my work. Once she gets her students in those chairs, now she has 90% more control than what she just had 10 seconds ago. The last 10% is up to her. Trainers all over the world have endless ways to control an animal. But with me, there's basically one main thing that I use for control. And it's also one of your cheapest tools you'll ever buy. And that tool is the leash. Let me give you a quick example of how important and how much control that leash gives you. If you're in an empty room and you have a dog in there with you that's out of control, that dog is running all over the place, jumping all over the walls, jumping off your back. You have no control of this dog. Suddenly, you put a leash on that dog, you now have 90% more control than you just had a few seconds ago. It's just like what I was saying about the teacher with her students. No desks, no chairs equals no control. In the dog world, no leash equals no control. Train. This means training. This is how we teach the animal. These are the techniques that we teach the animal. Training comes in many different forms when it comes to dogs. You can train obedience, you can train tricks, you can train a dog to be a service dog. There's 2 basic rules of training, and that's technique and conditioning. And they're both just as important as one another. Technique is teaching the mechanics of something, and conditioning is muscle memory, doing it over and over until you're good at it. Dog training, all you're doing is teaching a technique, which typically takes 1 day to teach the technique. Your conditioning process is indefinite. Maybe weeks, maybe months. I do it for years. I do it for the lifetime I have the dog. You can condition them indefinitely every day of their life. But the reality comes down to a dog that has learned technique is a trained dog. A dog that has learned technique and conditioning is a well-trained dog. Keep that in mind. And then finally, we come to treat. This is your dog's reward, their compensation. This is how you also teach them focus. Dogs are just like humans in the fact that very few of them will work for free. There's no right or wrong answer for this because every dog responds to different treats. And once you find the right treat that they like, now you've got them to focus. And focus is one of the most important things when training. Once you have a dog's focus, you can train them much more efficiently. Now, I want you to understand the order of what I said that in. I do not want you to go outside that order. Control, train, treat. That is the basic order of training an animal, and it always has been. The first thing you always do is you must gain control of your animal. Then you train them, and then you treat, reward them. If you try to mix up that order, you will get from point A to point B at a much more difficult amount of time than if you follow the order of that control, train, treat. You're also going to find that there's certain times that your dog's going to respond better when you're training them. The 2 times that I find are the most effective is number 1, when they have the right energy, and this is typically the morning to maybe early afternoon. Some dogs will open up more at night. That's up to you and your particular dog to find out. But also, most importantly, train them when they're hungry. You're going to get a lot further and train a lot more efficiently if they have hunger. Because if you try to train a dog just after you fed them, that's like trying to offer a rich guy a job. Ain't happening. I'm going to teach you 7 vital commands, 7 common commands that you'll be asking your dog to do almost every day, guaranteed. And I developed this through years of people asking me, I want you to teach my dog this, this, and this. And after a decade and a half of data, I finally said, you know what? I'm going to get rid of all these other commands. There's literally 25, 30 commands out there that I barely teach. I might teach it once every few weeks, once every few months. I barely ever tell the dog to do it. These 7 common commands I tell my dog to do almost every day, and most people out there do the same. Sure, you could teach a dog 100 things, but at best they might be okay. They might be getting C pluses in all 100 things. You teach a dog 7 things and 7 things only, they're going to be getting A pluses across the board in all 7 things. Because the reality is dogs' minds, they work just like a computer. Think about your laptop. When you first got it, how fast was that thing? It's responsive. Everything you do, you touch it, boom, just so fast. A few years later, it's all bogged down with information. You've crammed it to the rim with pictures, videos, everything else you do. And now you push a button, not so responsive anymore. Same thing happens with a dog. When you fill that dog's mind with so much information, sure, it'll still do it, but it won't be as responsive. My job is to teach you how to train your animal to be extremely responsive. There's really not any order I necessarily like to train these commands in, but I will say this. The sit command is a really good command to start with because I call it a transition command. So once your dog is in a good sit position, it's a really good transition to the down. It's a good transition to the stay. It's a good transition to the stay and a come. So if there's any command you're going to teach first, I would say the sit command, and everything else is really no particular order. When I train dogs, I always make sure that I teach them a verbal command and a hand signal at the same time. And the reason for this is simple. Dogs can see, dogs can hear. They understand both, and it's always good when you train to have a backup. When I teach the sit, stay, down, and come commands, I always give a hand signal and a verbal signal. This way you can actually say the word sit and your dog sits, or you can simply give the signal without saying a word, and the dog actually will do it. And you'll be surprised how often you use these hand signals. You could be on your phone, you could be at a restaurant, and you find that that hand signal actually comes in handy quite often. Throughout this class, I'll be showing you all the hand signals that go with the verbal commands. And you'll be doing it with this little guy right here, your treat. Your treat selection is very important. I like treats that fit between your fingers. I don't want the treat too big, and you definitely don't want it too small. So this size right here is pretty ideal. And every command, you're gonna have the treat between your fingers. The treat is what's gonna get their attention, but the hand signal and verbal command are what they're gonna be trained to respond to. So first we start with the sit. The treat goes between the first two fingers, palm up, 45-degree angle over the dog's head while saying the word sit. The stay, treat between the first two fingers, palm flat out, as if you're hitting a wall and saying the word stay at the same time. The down, treat between the first two fingers, palm down, and say the word down. Now you want to move your hand a good foot or so. You really want to exaggerate this one. Say the word down. Come. You simply slap your leg or clap your hands while saying the word come. Now I'll be teaching you some proper leash techniques that we'll be using throughout the class. I see a lot of people walking their dogs like this. None of this crap. I don't want to see a rat's nest all balled up in your hands, okay? I want to see you with professional grips. The point of these grips is to save your hand from rope burn. You hold a leash like this and you got a big dog, this is going to be happening, and trust me, you do not want your hand to be in the line of fire of this leash. You will get a rope burn you will never forget. Holding it like this, which is the pointed finger lock, how we do this is we put the leash between the pointer and the middle finger, make a fist to where your leash is now locked in your hand, and what this does, it creates a lock where the leash cannot come out of your hand. There's another way we could do this. This is the thumb lock. Same thing. The leash goes through the thumb, down the palm of the hand. Now we make a fist that locks both ends of the leash up. Your thumb is over your pointer finger, effectively creating a thumb lock, also known as a thumb grip. Now the leash is 100% locked in your hand. Essentially, these grips can hold a 300-pound animal. Now, I'm not asking you to hold a 300-pound animal, but if you just happen to, you might be able to hang on to them with your hand only. The rest is up to you. And also very important to point out is the J in my leash. If you look down here at Lucky, notice how the leash is in the shape of a slight J. That's exactly how I want you to work your dogs. I don't want the leash too tight where you're choking them, and I definitely don't want it too loose because it gives them way too much freedom and you'll lose control very quickly. That J is an important detail to remember as we move forward in the class. Another leash technique we'll be using in the class is the double loop. And that's where you simply loop it once, loop it twice. You make sure the leash going down to the clip is hitting your pinky, and this will come in handy when walking a small dog because your corrections will be in your wrist or your pinky, just like that. It's very important as we're doing the heel with a small dog especially that my elbow is literally glued to my ribs. My forearm technically is not moving. All my movement is in my wrist only, mostly in my fingers. This is a technique I call the body anchor. I call it the body anchor because you want your body to become an anchor if you have a big dog pulling you. Rufus here has 4 legs, I've only got 2, and if I try this tug-of-war battle, my arms are eventually gonna blow out. I don't want you holding a leash like this. I definitely don't want you holding it like this. What I want you to do is find the center of gravity of your body, which is from here to here. You wanna do like the old school rappellers did before they had fancy tools. I want you to grab the leash right here like this. This arm is gonna choke up, a foot down. This hand is going to go flat on the top of your butt. From that point,
you're going to twist your hips, lean your body back. Now, as you can see, all the tension is on my hips. Essentially, this arm is free. The only point of this hand is to keep the pressure of the leash right here. My arms are not doing the pulling at this point. My body is doing the pulling, hence the body anchor. When a dog feels this, you win the tug-of-war battle and they will give up much sooner. My core fundamental in training comes down to one word and one word only: control. In dog training, control comes in many forms. It comes in the form of a leash. It comes in the form of some sort of pedestal or platform to train on. And it also comes in the form of this technique I'm about to show you right now, known as the double leash lock-off. All it is a harness, a collar, and 2 leashes. Now, it's very important to understand exactly what the 2 leashes are for. The back leash is known as the anchor leash, and as you can see, I have it staked off to the ground. You don't necessarily have to use a stake, though. You can use an eye bolt in a fence, you can use something heavy like the leg of a table or a chair, anything to anchor off that back leash. That's the whole point of it. And then we come to the front leash, which is known as the guide or correction leash. And as you can see, when I pull the front leash, now both leashes are straight, preventing her from moving forwards, backwards, left, or right, creating a more efficient way to train an animal. Your whole goal in dog training is to get from point A to point B in the most humane and the most efficient way. And nothing helps you do that more effectively than the double leash lock-off.
The sit command is very easy to learn, and there's only 2 steps. Step number 1 is you want to step on the leash, and this prevents the dog from jumping up. It's very common when you hold a treat above the dog's head, they start jumping up and trying to grab the treat. Well, stepping on the leash prevents that. Step number 2 is have the treat in your hand, hold the treat in a 45-degree angle above the dog's head while saying sit at the same time. Suddenly the dog will put his butt down. Most dogs at first are going to start jumping for it. The leash is preventing that from happening. And what happens is after a few minutes, the dog eventually puts their butt down. Now the question is, why does this work? Well, it's very simple. There's a detail here I want to point out. It's very important. You want to make sure you hold the treat past the dog's line of sight above their head. What happens is if they're standing on all fours and they can look at the treat, they're not going to sit. But if you bring it out of view, they can't see it. The only way they can logically see it is they have to put their butt down because it actually angles their head in a much higher position where now they can see the treat again. Once their butt is down, they're in a sit position. It's just that simple.
So I'm going to go ahead and teach little Brody here the basic fundamentals of the sit. All I'm going to do is take a treat and hold it about 6 inches from his head. You see what he's doing right here? He's jumping up and trying to grab it right out of my hands. Let me show you how to stop that. All I'm going to do is take the leash, step on it right here. I'm not going to step on it too tight because it'll force him down. I'm not going to step on it too loose because it'll still enable him to jump. I'm going to find that middle balance right there. Now from there, I'm going to wait for him to stop jumping, hold the treat about 45 degrees over his head, say the word sit, and wait for him to calm down. And as he's sitting for 2 seconds, that's a sit. Good. That's as simple as it gets. It's one of the simplest commands to teach your dog. And again, I'm going to lure him with the treat. I'm going to step on it right around there, not too tight. I'm going to stop him from jumping. That's a sit. Perfect. That's a sit. Good. Just like that. Once again, reset him. I'm going to do this about 10 times. And by the 10th time, he should stop that little habit. Give me a sit. Again, 45-degree angle over the head with the treat about 6 inches away from his snout. And when he's in the sit position, I give it to him. Stepping on that leash is very important. It stops the jumping. Again, we're going to reset just by simply walking back and forth really quick.
step on that leash, hold it over his head, say the word sit, wait for him to calm down. There you go. Good, good, good. I'm gonna hold it just for a second to make sure he stops jumping. Good. When he's not jumping, you pay him right away. Same thing, step on the leash, 45 over the head. He gave a little jump right there. I'm not gonna give it to him. Wait him out, 3, 2, 1. That's a sit. Perfect. Now make sure every time you say the command, you want to enunciate. You don't want to let it mumble off your tongue. You have to enunciate. Dogs understand enunciation. So as I say the sit command, I'm going to say it as a firm, strong command. We sit. Let me get you reset. We sit. There we go. That's a sit. Good. That's a sit. Nice. Perfect. Quick reset. A little forward. Give me a sit. Perfect. Foot still on the leash. He's not jumping. Now what's going to happen is, as time's gone on, I'm going to take my foot off the leash. Now I'm going to start paying him without the foot on the leash. So again, a quick little reset. Come here, sweetie. Now I'm just going to say the word sit. No jumping, loose leash. Good, that's a sit. Nice. Same thing, a little reset. Come this way, and we sit. Perfect. Loose leash, no foot on the leash this time. This is exactly what I want to see. And sit. Perfect. And once again, give me a sit. 45-degree angle over the head with the treat. Very important. He's not jumping. If he starts jumping, once again, I put my foot back on the leash to stop the jumping, but right now, he's past those days. So I'm going to hold it right here. That's a sit. Perfect. And a quick reset. Give me a sit. Beautiful. 3, 2, 1. Good. Sit. Nice. A little further. Give me a sit. Nice. And the jumping for the treat is now in the rearview mirror. And now I give him the treat for the sit only. Let's do one more just to make sure we have it solidified in his system. And we sit. Beautiful. Good. That's a sit. Nice. Okay. Again, what you want to do is short sessions, either 10 times or about 10-minute sessions. End it. You can start it again in a few hours. So now that he has it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this about 3 times a day for only about 10, 15 minutes each. That's all it really takes for a good training session. And also very important, you always want to end it on a good note. The last time he sat very well for me, very controlled. I had no problems. That's how you always want to end every training session.
For my lifestyle, if I had to pick one of the 7 common commands to teach my dog and one only, I would definitely teach my dog the down command. And the reason why is because essentially down is a 3-part command. It's a down, it's a stay, and it's also the ultimate form of control. You have to remember a dog is a lot like a car. If that dog is standing on all fours in the stay position, it's just like your foot on the brake. The car's still on, and any second now, your foot could be on the gas pedal. But when a dog's in a down position, it's almost like the car is in park and the keys are out of the ignition. It's a much better form of control. There's a million reasons you'd use a down command. It's great if you like to take your dog to a sidewalk cafe. If you got friends coming over and you just want your dog in a down position because he's out of control. A down is great for out of control dogs in general. For example, I have a flat-coated retriever, Coda. He's a very high energy dog. He loves to party when people come over. In fact, I lose control of him very quickly. It's like he's untrained, and people look at me like, "You're a dog trainer?" Whenever I see this, I don't say stay, I don't say sit, I say down, because it is the best form of control. He knows when he's in that down position. Once again, the keys are taken out of the ignition. That means control yourself, calm down, do not move. I always recommend starting this command on some sort of pedestal, a picnic table. There's all kinds of things you can use. You can use the top of a stairway landing. You can even use a curb. It always makes a huge difference if you have that little bit of elevation, because where you hold the treat is vital to how this command is done. Although a lot of dogs can learn the down command from standing, it's much easier to teach them when they already are in the sit position. This is why I always say teach a sit before anything. Good transitional command. So now your dog is in a sit position. It's much easier to get them in that down position.
Okay, for this variation of the down command, I'm going to use the double leash lock off that we learned earlier in the class. And all I'm going to do is take my second leash, which is also known as the anchor leash, and I'm going to anchor it here to the picnic table. And the length of this anchor leash is very important. So I'm going to run it under here, and where I want to end up is exactly so the dog's head is floating over the edge of the picnic table here. And I like to use a picnic table as an elevation. It's a makeshift pedestal. Any sort of pedestal works. You can use a couch, you can use a chair. I even like using curbs. Now it's very important you notice what's going on here. The back leash is known as the anchor leash. This one is your guide and control leash. All I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put him on a sit command, and I'm gonna drop the treat lower than the table right here. Essentially his head is going to follow the treat, and I'm gonna say the word down at the same time. Give me a down. Now sometimes I have to crouch down to really give him incentive. Give me a down. Give me a down. And it's gonna take a few tries. Give me a down. Give me a down. And we're gonna wait him out. This is very common and very expected in this technique. Give me a down. As you see, I'm not putting any pressure here. I'm just kind of weighting my hand down. Give me a down. Give me a down. Give me a down. And we're just gonna wait him out. Sometimes it takes a few minutes, sometimes they get it right away. But the second his elbows go down, I make sure I give him that treat. Give me a down. Down. Give me a down. Give me a down. You're almost there. Give me a down. Give me a down. Almost there. Give me a down. Give me a down. Give me a down. Give me a down. Down. No, you're not doing that. Give me a down.
There's a lot going on here. You can see in Eddie's personality that he's reluctant. He's trying to figure his way out of this.
Give me a down. Almost there. Almost there. Give me a down.
The front leash, it's only a guide leash. In no way is it pulling him down. The treat is doing all the work here.
Give me a down.
This is a battle of wills. You can't let the dog win here. Do not give up.
You almost had it. Good, that's a down. Good boy. And there we go. Took a little longer than I thought. We got a stubborn one here. The second he's down, the important part is keeping him down. That's a down. Good boy. And I'm going to continue to pay him while his elbows are down. That's a good boy. Down. The important part is when he's down right here, I keep rewarding him. That's a down. Perfect. Down. Heavy praise. Down. Good. That's a down. And the reason why you praise so much here and reward is because this is where you want to remind him this is the sweet spot. His elbows down, fully down on the ground. That's a down. Good. That is where he gets the big reward. Good boy. That's a down. Very good. Good boy. And I'm going to give him, oh, he's already back up. Okay. So now we're just going to repeat the process. Same thing. He might be a little stubborn on me, which, like I said, is expected, but we wait him out. Give me a down. Give me a down. Give me a down. Give me a down. He did it once, he'll do it again now. Give me a down. Give me a down. Good, that's a down. Perfect. Same thing, repeat. Now he's down. I'm going to keep him down. Good, that's a down by giving him lots of treats right here in this down position. It's very important that you reward quickly and over while he's in this position. Good boy, that's a down. Good. That's a down. Very good boy, Eddie. Good boy. Heavy praise, heavy positive reinforcement in this position right here. Good boy. That's a down. Very good boy, Eddie. Good. That's a down. Perfect. Make sure you keep repeating your command as he's in the down position. Good boy. That's a down. That's a down. All right. And so now he's back up. He reset himself. We're just going to go ahead and repeat the process. Now, if you notice the second time he did it, he didn't take as long. So the third time might not take as long as either. Give me a down. That's a down. Good boy. And just like that, as he's down, good. That's a down. Perfect. Good boy. Same thing, heavy reward as he's in the down position. Good boy. Notice right here, loose leash. There's no pressure on him. The front guide leash is only to slightly pull him down, just to give him that little bit of incentive. Good boy, that's a down. It's just like walking him on a leash. A little bit of pull down, it lets him know this is the direction I want you to go. And when he's down, no pressure whatsoever, just heavy praise, heavy reward, heavy positive reinforcement in this down position. Good boy, that's a down. So once they do it the first couple times, they get a lot quicker, which is the case for Eddie here. So he's actually not even thinking about it now. So I guarantee the next time, good boy, that's a down. I guarantee the next time I tell him to lie down, he's gonna just drop right to his elbows. Good boy, that's a down. Good, down, perfect. Good boy. And again, heavy praisal. I'm breaking little tiny treats off here. I don't want to fill them up. Good boy, that's a down. Good, that's a down, Eddie. Perfect. Good boy. And I'm going to reset him. Okay. Okay. And same thing. Eddie, give me a down. Good, there we go. Now he's going. Now he's going. Good boy, that's a down. But once the light bulb clicks, that's it. They've got it. The moment of clarity hits, now he's lying down every time. That's a down. Perfect. Good. That's a down. Good boy. Because he realizes when he's in this lie down position, that's what gets him all the treats. And when he was standing like this or in the sit position as he's doing right now, he gets no treats whatsoever. So he understands the multiple choice here and he chooses to lie down. It gets him the treats. Give me a down. Good. There you go. That's a down. Perfect. The reason I'm training on this picnic table is because as long as you can elevate that dog even the slightest bit, it makes your training much easier and much more efficient. And also keep in mind, as I was teaching him this down, at first I had to drop the treat below the table. That's the secret to the technique. If I started this on the ground, I can't get it below the ground unless I dug a hole. Good. And we sit. Good. And we lie down. Good. There you go. Now he's got it. I can start getting distance. Good boy, that's a down. Perfect. And always keep in mind, as you train, in the very beginning of this technique, you're gonna have to really crouch down on the ground. But what I want you to do as the session goes on, I want you to start standing more straight up because you don't wanna get in the habit of always crouching down to the ground to tell your dog to lie down because your dog will think that's the actual signal. You have to lie down on the ground for him to lie down. So you always wanna actually start standing straight up and simply give the hand command. So once again, I'm gonna say down. Good, now he's going down every time. Good boy. Good, that's a down. Perfect. And again, I'm gonna start going for distance now. I'm gonna reset. Okay, okay. And I'm gonna back up a couple feet. Oh, now he's offering. This is very common. And we lie down. Eddie, give me a sit and a down. Give me a down. Good, that's a down. Perfect. There you go. That's a down. Perfect. Perfect. Good boy. That's a down. Perfect. Good. After a couple days of mastering it on a picnic table or any pedestal that you're using, you then go to the ground. Good boy. So once your dog has the basic fundamentals of the down command, same thing as always, do it 3 times a day for about 10 to 15 minute sessions each. Always ended on a good one, just like it did with little Eddie here. And now you see he wants to stay down. So I'm going to show you a second variation of the down command. What happens if your dog is too stubborn to lie down just the way I showed you? Well, it's a technique that I love to do. I call it the grab and slide, and this is for the very stubborn dogs. So all I'm going to do is take a treat in my right hand. Make sure he's in the sit command. My left hand, I'm going to grab his collar, hence the name grab and slide. I'm going to take my left elbow, put it over his body like so. My left elbow's right here, my right hand right here has the treat. My right hand goes underneath his body. Now watch this, I'm gonna slide his front legs out, keeping his body down with my armpit. When he's in this down position, I'm going to pay him over and over in this position. My body is preventing him from standing up. I'm not pushing down. In fact, there's about 2 inches of space right here. That little bit of space lets him know that he can't stand up, and I'm gonna keep him in this down position over and over. It's the same thing we did with the variation just a few minutes ago. When they're in the down position, you wanna pay over and over. Now what happens is, as they get more comfortable in that down position, you raise yourself up. Now, you can begin paying them as you're standing straight up, and it's the same as before. When they're in the down position, you wanna pay them over and over for the down. Okay, so once again, let me break it down. My right hand has the treat, I get him focused, he's in the sit position. My left hand grabs his collar. My left elbow goes over his body to the pedestal, creating this wedge behind his back. Now I have his attention with the treat with my right hand. I'm gonna take my right hand, slide it under his elbows, slide the legs out. As he's down, look at this, my armpit is over his back with a couple inches of space. I'm gonna keep him down by just hovering over him. He knows he can't stand up because my thumb still has his collar and my armpit is over his back. Most dogs, if they try to stand up, when they feel you right here, they're gonna stop right away. Now, once I feel he's comfortable in this position, I let the collar go, I keep petting him, say the word down, and I slowly start standing up and pay him while he's in the down position. Once dogs know that being in that down position gets them the reward, they're gonna choose to remain in that down position. And then you're good to go. You can stand up. And now they have the basic fundamentals of the grab and slide version of the down. Once you do that grab and slide technique on them over and over, you can go back to the technique we did over here, where you simply say the word down, and now they actually have the motion of the down command. Good boy, that's a down. Good, that's a down, good. He's gonna be so full. I just emptied out a whole bag of treats in this dog. He's doing great. Oh yeah, no, he's doing just fine. I literally just emptied out an entire bag.
The stay I teach right here, I call it the cornered stay. And I call it the cornered stay because we start it in a corner. You can see I'm starting it in a yard. You can do it in the corner of a house. Anywhere where you find that 90-degree angle, that's where you want to start your stay. And as always, you want to train with a leash. So the first step in the process is you put your dog's butt in the corner. Now right here, they should have a sit command. It's going to make your stay much better. The sit is a good transition command to other things. Now the question becomes, why is the dog in the corner? If you try to teach a stay in an open field, there are 8 possible directions that dog could run. You put the dog in a corner, there are only 3 directions to run because the whole entire backside of the dog is being blocked off. Physically, they cannot run that direction. You stand right in front of the dog, now the dog only has 2 directions to run. If you use your hands as blocks, now the dog has no directions to run. All you're technically doing is teaching your dog the less they move, the quicker they get paid. From here, all you want to do is have them stay just for a couple seconds. They're not moving, quickly pay them. And then you want to back off another foot, say the word stay. Once you get about 5 or 6 feet away, your hands can't block the dog. And this is why it's very important to make sure you don't move on until you know the dog is rock solid when you're at just a few feet away. Once you back up to the point where the dog knows they can dart on you, they will take the opportunity. Don't give up. It's going to happen. It happens to the best of us. It still happens to me every day. This is why we repeat the process over and over. Remember, technique and conditioning. I want you to spend a good 2 to 3 days in that corner perfecting it. While you're still training the dog in the corner, you're not going to back up further than 6 feet because this way you still have the leash in your hand just in case the dog decides to run on you. You want to work very slow, and you also want to make sure that you tell your dog to stay. Don't ask them. And what I mean when I say this is you don't want to say, stay. That sounds like you're giving the dog an option, okay? If you're asking the dog to stay, if you're giving the dog the option, I promise you, they will take the option you do not want. You want to make sure your stay is firm and on a very flat note. So it's a stay. Now again, don't move too fast here. So you're probably going to spend another 2-3 days on the flat wall. Once your dog has mastered the flat wall, that's when you can do the final piece of the puzzle and bring them out into the open.
Okay, come here. Come here. Hold on. Hold your horses. Come here. Come here. Nope. No. We're not doing buck and bronco right now. Hold on. Hold your horses. Give me a sit. All right. It's a lot better if they actually stop bucking on me. Come here. Sit. There you go. Stay. So all I'm doing right here, I'm going to do a stay in a point blank range. Literally almost on top of her. Stay. She's focused on the tree, so she has no reason to dart left or right. And my hand is on the leash still, just in case she wants to dart. And I'm going to show her the hand signal, which is a stay. The treat is in my hand, followed by a stay, and I give her the treat when she's not moving. So again, point blank, stay, hand still on the leash. I'm blocking off both sides just in case she wants to run. My hand's on the leash anyway, so she can't go anywhere. Good. That's a stay. Perfect. That is a stay. So now she gets that. Repeat the process. I'm going to back up 1 foot and a stay. Now, if she comes towards me, I'm just going to take a little step towards her like that. Sit. That's very common. They'll do that. Your first instinct when they come towards you is to always back up. Never do that. You always step forward. Stay. Back a little more. If she comes forward, take a step forward. Sit. Sit. Good. Stay. That's all I wanted to do. If she lies down, it's fine. You adjust those details later. All I wanted to do is stay. I'm going to back up a little more. Stay. And she learns very quickly. Good. The less she does, the less she moves, the more reward she gets. Again, take a step forward. Back on a sit. Back on a sit. Come here. Good. Stay. And if she lies down, that's totally fine. We worry about details like that later. Again, I'm going to back up just a touch. Stay. Still hand on the leash. Good, that's a stay. Very important detail here. I do not praise her from back here. I always praise her from a point blank zone.